Hi, and welcome to 3 Things in 3 Minutes. I'm Nersi. Today we are looking at Golem from Cranio Creations. It plays 2 to 4 players with a solo AI mode and plays in about 2 hours. What it's about: Golem is a heavy Euro game in which players are scholars in 16th century Prague learning about creating and controlling golems. So each round players will move their golems along some neighborhoods, and then they'll take 3 actions. 2 involve taking a marble from 5 rows distributed randomly by dropping them into a synagogue marble tower. The more marbles when you draft yours, the stronger the action, from building and using golems to obtaining books for bonuses to acquiring gold for income generating artifacts to developing your own player board. Now, one of your actions involves placing your rabbi on the action spaces that change every round, including the option to kill your golem for bonuses. And this is important because at the end of each round, you have to pay knowledge for golems that have moved ahead of your students, or you risk losing points. At the end of 4 rounds, players also score for their developments and endgame objectives, and whoever has the most points wins. So what I like, one of the hallmarks of this style of Italian Euro games is the variable setup, and Golem definitely accomplishes this. From the artifact income bonuses to the player board to your Golem workspaces in each neighborhood to the rabbi actions that change each round to the character cards that let you pay gold for final bonuses in each round, the game feels like a very different puzzle every time you play. And the marble drafting also creates some interesting choices. Now, the fewer the marbles, the less useful the action, as in games like Grand Austria Hotel, but the marble colors also let you move your students forward and determine whether or not you can influence the character cards, so your decisions are rarely as simple as taking the most powerful action. And the game is also very open in the paths and the engines that you can build, but the game's objective cards, which you draft at the beginning, help you define a clear path and give you some much needed direction, and every time you gain a new objective card, you always have a choice of 2, giving you more options. Now, points to consider. Now, there are some downsides to the high variability, and one of them is that the game is fairly cumbersome to set up, with a lot of tiles on the main board and overlays on your individual player boards to sort and set up. And the variable action spaces for the golems and rabbis mean that you can be very limited with how useful your options are. This is especially important for the golems, as you have very limited control over where they can move to and what they can do, and the cost of letting your golem get too far ahead is fairly punishing. And while the rules referencing is standard for language-independent Euro games with some vague iconography, the rulebook isn't always clear in its wording, examples, and its exception, and particularly with a needlessly complex passing phase where players can re-roll the marbles for a better result. So in summary, it's a highly variable Euro game that gives you some interesting new puzzles each time you play, though that comes with some fairly cumbersome setup. It offers several interesting choices each turn, especially with the marble drafting, but the golem and rabbi actions can feel more limited, and the game's objectives help guide an otherwise very open game, even though some of the rules are overly vague or complex. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.